Hi dear students, today we shall devote this session to make a bit of remedial work and at the same time reinforce the use of grammar. And precisely in this session we shall cover 6 units. Of course, we shall see a bit, we shall revise a brief review on the passive, then on the relative clauses, then on the report speech, and on conditionals, both conditional type 1 and conditional type 2. Now let's start first with we are covering in this review from unit 6 to unit 10. All right, let's start with the first section, which concerns relative pronouns. And here we have chosen only a set of these of 5 relative pronouns, which are who, which, whose, when, and where. And to remind you, we use who for people, which for objects, events, etc., and whose we use it for possession, and when for time, and where for place. Okay, now let's work on this relative pronouns in some sentences. Let's start with the first one. Marconi was the person, and of course when we mention a person, we need to use, of course, one relative pronoun that refers to people. All right, and the right one is of course who. Now say, Marconi was the person who invented the radio. Now let's for you do the other sentences. The internet is a network, and here the network is speaking about an object, about something, connects computers. Number 3, I still remember the day, and the day, let's see what does it refer to. We first met at the restaurant, and the restaurant is of course a place. Look for the right relative pronouns that refers to places. And then the fourth one, children, and we have children and verb. Now let's notice when we have a noun and a verb, what a relative pronoun should we use, and when we have a noun and a noun, what's the right relative pronoun that should be suitable for that sentence. Now let's go back to sentence number 2, and we said the internet is a network, of course, which connects computers, which since we are speaking about something, which is the network. For sentence number 3, I still remember the day. The day is time. And for time, the suitable relative pronoun for time is when. And then we first met the restaurants. Here we are speaking about a place. Here, and of course we use for place where. And the sentence number 4, the children and shouted. Here we have subject or a noun, and then a verb. And speaking about people, the right one is of course who. And for sentence number 5, what did you do with the money? Money is something, is an object, let's say. And then where your mother gave you, of course, we shall use which. And for first is the city. Look here, we have a city and people, 2 nouns. And when we have in the first part a noun and the second part another noun, we use the possessive whose. And this is for relative pronouns. To recapitulate, say who, we use it for people, which for objects, things, and events, whose for possession, when for time, and where for place. All right, now let's go further with the following exercise. The following one is about conditional type 1, and to remind you, when do we use conditional type 1? Type 1 is used when we are speaking about something that may happen at the time of speaking, which is possible. Let's underline possible to happen. All right? For example, here, and we have here an exercise in which you are going to unscramble the sentences. The form is if plus subject, simple present, and the second part, he will, and the verb in the infinitive form. All right? Now let's start with the first one as an example before we go to the other sentences. For example, say, if she misses the bus, she will walk. Will walk. This is the future, or what we call will plus the verb in the in the infinitive. If sentence number 2, say we have if he will concert goes, he should do to and where. If he goes to the concert, of course, we shall use like the first sentence. We say he will wear his shirt. And the third one, if she will cook, isn't dinner tired? If she isn't tired, she will cook dinner. And if plus go will weather a picnic, the nice is on. If the weather is nice, we will go on a picnic. Let's remind you that we can start with the first part and we can say, for example, she will walk if she misses the bus. And the if clause can be taken in the second part. And the same for all sentences. We can start with the if clause and with all the second part of the sentence. Okay, this is for conditional type 1. Now let's go directly to conditional type 2. The form of the conditional type 2 is if plus simple past and then would and the verb in the infinitive form. And we can use would, we can use could, we can use might. All right, and the verb that comes after is used in the infinitive. All right, now let's work on this exercise. And as you may notice, if she studies simple past, what should we use? We have would get or got better grades at school. Got is the simple past. It comes directly after if. So if we have already used F. So the second the second one we should use she would get. All right, and the sentence will look like this. If he studied harder, she would get better grades at school. Sentence number 2, he would finish his work. From the form of the conditional, if conditional type 2, we have would and if plus the simple past. Here we are given would, so what we should look for is didn't, the simple past of the verb. So the sentence will look like this. He would finish his work on time if he didn't talk so much. Sentence number 3, and the same as the previous one. My parents would be angry if I, and of course we use the verb, failed my exams. Now we have here started with the if clause, and of course what's come directly after if is the verb in the simple past. I'm always speaking about conditional type 2. And then say, if you had a toothache, would you go to the dentist? And then we go to sentence number 5. If you found some money, all right? Yeah, I from time to time remind you that if what comes directly after if is the verb in the simple past, and the second part of the if clause, the if sentence is with would plus the verb in the infinitive. And then we look like this. If you found some money, would you keep it? The last sentence concerning conditional type 2, we would overcome this crisis. Inshallah, we shall do. We would overcome this crisis if we, and what comes after if is the verb in the simple past. If we stayed at home. Okay, let's go on now with the following section in which we shall have a brief look on the report speech. Okay, now here we have some sentences. I just briefly remind you that when we have the present progressive, it becomes the past progressive. When we have is going, of course, simple past was going. And then I met, the simple past becomes past perfect in the indirect speech. Now, for example, for sentence number 1, I'm feeling tired now. And here we have two things to change. First, the verb, and then now, which becomes at that moment or becomes then. And this is, we start the sentence with it said that, look, he was feeling tired at that moment, okay? Present continuous becomes past progressive was feeling, and now becomes at that moment, and we can say then, all right? Now for the second sentence, he's going to install on your software. He told me that, and easy become in the simple past, he was going to install on you software. Well, here we have to change only the verb from simple present with going to, and becomes was going to. And sentence number 2, we have it in the simple past. I say, I met an old friend at the market yesterday. Now we have to change this one. And yesterday, in the indirect speech, which becomes the previous day. Look, and the sentence will look like this. He said that he had met. Simple past becomes past perfect, an old friend at the market the previous day, or with the day before. All right? At the sentences, we didn't go to Rabat last week, didn't go simple past, becomes past perfect, negative here, of course, sentence negative. Last becomes the previous, and then they said that they hadn't gone past perfect, that is simple past, becomes past perfect. Last becomes the previous, last week, last Monday, or whatever. The last becomes the previous. And will you attend the conference tomorrow? Here we have simple future, and tomorrow is the following day. He asked, and here, look, here we have not a statement, we have question, interrogative sentence, and when we have the indirect speech, we start the interrogative sentence, we introduce it with asks and if or whether. All right, and then we say, he asked me, or he asked if or whether I would attend the conference the following day. The following day is for tomorrow. Now, where will you spend next summer holiday? He wanted to know. We can say if or whether, and here say here we have a WH word question. So we take down the where to start the indirect sentence, and we say then he wanted to know where I would spend the following holiday, the following holidays. All right. Next becomes the following. Now let's go direct to the last section, which is the passive voice. And to remind you that in the passive, in the active sentence, when we have the verb in the simple present, in the passive sentence, we take the tense of the verb and we conjugate to be in that tense, and then the past participle of the verb. All right? Speak is in the simple present. Was to be in the simple present, it is I am, it's am, or is, or are. All right? According to the subject here, we have English, we use is. And then the sentence will be like this. And then people speak English in many countries. English is spoken. Now, the past participle of the verb and is to be conjugated in the tense of the active sentence. They don't teach Chinese in Morocco. This sentence is also in the simple present, but negative. And we say then to be negative, isn't, or aren't, or am not. And then here we have Chinese. We have the third person Chinese. How we say isn't taught in Moroccan schools. They are sending the package by air. Here we have the present progressive, and it becomes to be in the present progressive is am being, is being, or are being. Here the package is singular, so we say is being sent by air. And this by air is not the agent, it's part of the sentence. We can use the agent by them. But since we have this subject pronoun, we can omit it, we can't forget about it. They haven't cleaned the office yet. Here we have the present perfect, and what's to be in the present perfect is have been, has been, and have been. Has been for he, she, it, and have been for the other subject pronouns. Here we have the office, and then of course we say has been cleaned. Hasn't been, since it's negative, hasn't been cleaned yet. And the sentence for sentence number 5, the police arrested the criminal. The criminal here, simple past of to be is was and were. And in this sentence we shall say the criminal was arrested. This is an interrogative sentence which is in the direct speech, and in direct speech we can use interrogative sentences, and for this one, do they make cars in Morocco? It becomes, of course, are cars made in Morocco. This is a review on the on language from Unit 5 to Unit 10. I hope that you have spent nice moments with these in this session, and you have got as much benefit as you can. I hope that's enough for this overall review on the conditionals, the passive and the reported speech. I hope you have spent nice moments. Stay safe. Goodbye. Thank you very much.